Hi there, I'm so happy you're here with me today. I am continuing from the last video I posted, which was the big book of watercolor by Mallory Jane. I prepped some flowers that I wanted to test the tutorials in this book, as well as a new Light Wish 100% cotton paper watercolor book. And I actually did the 5 flowers. Well, one is an eucalyptus. And I hope you enjoy the demonstration as I walk you through my struggles and share with you a little bit about how it is in the book following the tutorials. I think there's some important information in there that's good to know. But overall, I really enjoyed the process. I did enjoy working on this paper. However, I will continue working on it because I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. So that will be a little bit more time of playing in it to really determine how I feel about this paper and if I would continue purchasing this type of watercolor book and working in it. But for now, it's been a lot of fun and I hope you enjoy this demonstration and stick around. I know it's a bit of a long video, but I really go through each one step by step. So I didn't want to speed it up and I didn't want to break it up into like 5 videos. So, you know, you can have me running in the background or you can take out some watercolor and paint along with me, whichever you choose. I'd love to hear comments from you at the bottom if you enjoyed this and if you would like to see more videos like this. And if not, hey, well, I will know by the views, right? There won't be any.
Okay, stop being negative.
Well, I hope you enjoy watching my process and we'll see you on the other side. Hello, so we're gonna pick up where I last left off. I am going to be doing some of the exercises in the big book of watercolor by Mallory Jane. And I did already go through selecting the flowers that I wanted to paint. And I showed you how I traced the flowers onto this Light Wish 100% cotton watercolor sketchbook or art journal. And so I have 5 different examples of flowers from Mallory Jane's book that I am going to now paint with you. I am the type of person who actually likes to watch somebody go through the motions, and I feel like I usually learn a lot better visually than through instructions, but I'm gonna do my best not to mess it up. And as a beginner, I think it's really important to see what your style of learning is so that you don't go crazy investing in books and then realize, oh, reading instructions doesn't help you develop the skills you need, and maybe visual instructions are better. But nonetheless, I think the explanations that are in here are fairly easy to follow, and the book is absolutely beautiful. If anything, it gives a lot of inspiration on things to watercolor, so you can definitely, you know, pick and choose and customize what you want. So I'm really excited to get into this book, and I am going to share with you how how it's gonna work for me trying out these tutorials. Now, I will go to the first page, which is the Cosmos, and maybe just to help keep the book open, I've got a giant clip here. I'll put it off to the side. You can kind of see on the corner here what the final result will look like. Just making sure everything is in focus here. I do have my paint palette here. So this side of my art toolkit palette is a gouache paint, and then this side is watercolor. And I have specifically put colors that are recommended in the book so that I can really follow along as accurately as possible, choosing the same colors. In the future, it's nice to mix and match your colors and do a variety of colors and really go out there and explore things on your own. I do have a swatch card just to give me an idea of what colors I need. And they recommend an 8 round. I do have an 8 round, but this is a long round. It's a Velvet Touch Princeton, so I hope that'll work. That's the tricky part as well. You don't always have all the supplies that are mentioned in a tutorial, and I'm horrendous for running out and buying exactly the same supplies instead of trying to make what I already have work. And so today I'm going to use this long round. It's not a regular round. It should work. Hey, it's just a paintbrush. And if it's not good, well, I have a selection here of other watercolor brushes that I can use. So if I struggle, I'll just pick something else out of my little pot here of paintbrushes and make it work. And now we are going to start painting, and what it says, the first step is to paint the stem. Mix quinacridone gold with Windsor green. Purposely don't paint in the stem completely, leaving tiny areas of white paper showing through. This is a stylistic choice that helps to break up the solid block of color. However, you can fill in the stem completely if you would like. Okay, so let's do that first. So my Quin Gold is this one right here. I hope I'm in frame for you. There we go. So it said 50% for 60% Quin Gold, and then Windsor 40% green. I am not gonna be a scientist and try to accurately get that because that could be quite difficult. Now Windsor green would be this one here. Looks blue to me though. Oh, it's green. Okay, so that's the Windsor green, that's the gold. I am gonna dip back into my gold just to get a little bit higher percentage, and then just kind of mix those two together here. And this is going to be that green mixture. Now I guess we don't want it too watered down because we want to see our stem, but this is going to be the stem. So, wow, I feel like the stem that I traced is quite thick. I am going to just take out the line even more. It's not gonna show. Let's make sure there's no. Okay, so let's just do a stem and we go. I'm kind of in an awkward position here, but it's okay. Now they said not to try to make a solid stem, but it's kind of turning out solid for me. The tip on this paintbrush is quite nice. I think the fact that it is a long round gives it like nice a nice stem. Okay, there we go. Begin this with using a wet on wet technique. Because it is a lot of area to cover, you can focus on each petal. Oh, I guess the pollen area. So I like the book, but I have to explain something to you that I'm noticing. This is step 2. Step 2 says to do the stem. Step 3 says to do the petals. But when I look at the picture, the stem comes at the same time as the middle, but the pollen is really being added at the end. So I feel like I'm being set up for failure here, because if I started doing the petals and I wasn't very careful with the area of my pollen, I would probably get this really mucky and mixed up and wouldn't have a nice clear definition like it has here. So the pollen area here was done before the petals, but in the instructions, it's saying to do the petals, then the pollen. So just paying attention there. So it doesn't even tell me the pollen. I feel like a step is missing. So I think the pollen is just some quinacridone gold. Oh my gosh, that's a hard word to say. So I'm gonna start by just doing a little bit of quinacridone gold. Oh gosh. Okay, let's just dot some. And I got a big blob of paint here, but that's okay. We'll just work with it, I think. Maybe let that dry. It did say to do, oh yeah, the wet on wet was for the leaves. The wet on wet is for the leaves. And here I just put my pollen area down. We're gonna wanna let that dry because as soon as I start mixing in the petal, if it touches that yellow, it's going to bleed. Okay, so I do have my heat gun here, heat tool. We are going to make the petals. And the petals is cadmium orange and alizarin crimson 50-50. So that would be this one here. I guess I want a good amount of paint. And alizarin crimson, which is just below. Let's get a nice orangey red going here. I think I'm gonna put another little Pop of orange. And another little blob of red to get a little variation. Okay, so it said wet on wet. So I am going to take my wet paintbrush here and I am going to just sort of outline the petal area and bring it close to the pollen. So I'm just following the lines that I've already drawn in here and just kind of painting with water right now. Just painting with water. Painting with water all the way through. They don't explain this part here, but anyway. This is like a little leaf that is curled in, so I assume it would probably be a little lighter than the inside. It's okay. Now I am working on 100% cotton paper, which I'm happy about because I tend to cheat a lot with these cellulose and wood pulp style papers, and you don't really get the watercolor effect you should get when you use 100% watercolor paper. So we'll see how this works. Okay, I'm nervous, but we're gonna do it. Let's do it with a simple leaf first. So as soon as I touch with my paintbrush, the color just explodes. That's kind of pretty. So it feels interesting. Let's just keep going. Let's get this whole flower down. Wow. Interesting that I see the texture of the paper coming through. This is Light Wish and it's a bit of a rough texture from what I can see because it's got like little bumps. And it's okay, like I think what I want is good strong pigment so that my flower doesn't look washed out. I find that's often a problem when I'm painting. I feel like the watercolor goes down and then it lightens up and then things just kind of look washed out, which I'm somebody who loves color, so if it looks washed out, I'm kind of like tempted to go back over it like mixed media with maybe some pencil crayons or anything to help give it a pop of color. Just getting a little bit more paint here. See, my paper's already dry down here, so I am painting with my paintbrush, but I definitely have dry paper, so it's not doing that same like explosion effect that it did before. So maybe I'll go back in and just wet this a little bit more. And then go back in again with some paint. I don't want to lose the definition of the petals. Now what I did is leave these exterior petals that are kind of like folded in. I have left them white still. I'm just going to darken the inside first. Oh, it's like bubbles. I don't want to lose my pollen area, so I'm just kind of dabbling it a bit around. And yes, I am going back over it to intensify this color. Whether it's the right thing or wrong thing to do, I don't know, because I don't have a visual explanation. I'm reading instructions, so I'm just going with what I feel works. Okay, so there is the flower. Now I feel like it's darker in certain areas, and this mixture is definitely not dark. And I am so tempted. Okay, first, before I do anything to this mixture, I'm going to put in the little curved part here. And that definitely was too much water on my brush. Definitely too much water on my brush. But something bothers me about losing the definition of the flower. Like it just looks like a red splotch of paint that's like shaped like a flower, but I don't have this lovely definition. I have some neutral tint here, which I'm going to try. Ooh, I put maybe way too much, but let's just darken this. It's purpley now, but this pigment of paint, a lot of it's Winsor and Newton, is very pigmented, is very strong. Okay, there we go with a little bit of a darker shade. I'm gonna try this even though it's still wet. Gonna kind of, yeah, I'm getting that like starburst effect. The paint is just kind of spreading. All right, no harm done. But at least it's giving a little bit more variation, which I felt I was missing. I am going to reheat this again, dry it up. Now that I have that dry, we are going to just one more time pass this darker mixture to try and give it a little bit more definition here of like petals, because otherwise it just looks like a solid plain burst of color and not really like flowers. And I'm not trying to get a realistic look, but I just want it to be pretty, like, oh, that is a flower. And we're just gonna like dab in a little bit more like that. Now I think I am missing a little bit of a definition here of this curled up part of the petal. So to make it look curled, I will darken this one. There was another one like that over here. You gotta work with what you got. It's not always evident, but now I will lighten this and I will go back over this part here. Trying not to disturb it too much, but that's okay. So let's use the brush just to soak it up a little bit. All right. So what I'm doing, none of this is explained in the book, none of it. So I really have to look at the picture and then sort of swoosh around my colors and make it work until I feel I'm happy with it. Because if I had followed the book completely to a T, I would probably be disappointed with the outcome, and then I would not want to continue working in the book and do all the other examples because I'd be like, well, I don't know how to do it. So you do have to put in a little bit of effort. So does that mean the book is for an absolute beginner? I will lean towards saying no. It is for maybe somebody who's got some notion already of how to paint, but that it is still a really great book and it's still got some nice tutorials to follow and pretty pictures to go by. Absolutely. Now I've got I don't remember what it's like, a mushroom effect. I don't remember what this technique is called, but like my watercolor here definitely is making like a funny cloudy effect here. So I'm just kind of touching it up a little bit. I don't know if that's even a way to fix it, but I'm gonna just put in a little bit more effort here on this side. So, okay. Looking at this first example, and I'll just remove this here for a second, but let me bring this up closer. Here is the book tutorial, and here is my flower version, side by side. So eucalyptus leaves. We are going to do eucalyptus leaves next. Maybe I don't need to clip this one. It seems to be laying flat. Okay, eucalyptus leaves. Step one is to trace and put it on your paper. Now it's going to be mixing the color green, gold, cobalt, blue to make a nice green. And we're going to do variations of green so that the leaves look different colors. I am going to use this as a palette. It's actually for eggs. I believe it's to do like deviled eggs. It's in the kitchen section, but it's got these really cute wells and they're not very deep, a little bit flat on the bottom. So they're perfect to do painting with. So we are going to work on that. So green, gold, cobalt, blue, and to make a green. And this green was made with Quinn Gold and Windsor. So this is going to be a different green. So let's get some green gold, which is this one here. Oh, that's not green gold. That's my Quinn Gold. My green gold is next to that. And sorry, I know I'm not showing you clearly, so I will move this over here. See if that works. Okay, so my green gold is this one right here. So we are going to mix that. Green gold. I'd like to get a good amount here. Green gold, 60%. So really a lot of green gold. Okay. And then 40% of cobalt blue. And we're supposed to mix this together. So my cobalt blue will be the one next to the green gold. So that one's only at 40%. So let's just get that mixed in there. Okay. All right, so eucalyptus I feel is usually pretty dark in color. They're not like super washed out leaves. They're pretty dark. So we are going to go ahead and paint. Does it tell me to do wet on wet? It says on your palette, mix green gold 60% and cobalt blue 40% together. Use this cool green mixture and a size 8 round brush to paint the leaves of the eucalyptus. It does not say anything about wet on wet or whatnot. So let's try one leaf wet on wet and see how that turns out compared to wet on dry. So we would definitely want to get color in there. Now it is pooling up a little bit. I feel like I need a little more blue in there. It's not that cool. Okay, let's try one here that is not wet on wet and see if that looks a bit better. Actually, I like it better. Dry, wet on dry and not wet on wet. So we will not do wet on wet. We will do wet on dry. Since the book does not tell us which one to do, I will just do it this way. Okay. This one I'm not going to do yet because it's touching and I don't want it to bleed and create like funny stuff. So I will let it dry. There we go. This one too is touching, so we'll let that dry, and I'll dry it if I have to manually. Go through my color here. So far I am liking the paper. I mean, I like smooth paper when I'm really doing mixed media and stuff. Like this definitely has texture to it, but it's not bad. Like I'm liking it. So this is just a side leaf profile. Okay. And then we still have another leaf over here. I got beads of water on my brush there. I don't want that to drop. Let's do the outline of this flower. There we go. Okay. I find there's a lot of paint in here still. I will dry and then touch the two leaves that are connected. So let's dry this. I think that's dry enough. And now we will finish these last two leaves. Just kind of outlining it and then filling it in. There we go. And then the last one over here. One's kind of tucked in behind the other. That's why I wanted to make sure it was dry, because if you touch it, then they kind of blend in together and they look like they're attached like Siamese twins or something. So we want to make sure we have a nice separation so that it looks like one is on top of the other. Which is funny because the darker one is on top of, and the other one underneath is a bit lighter, and it should technically be the other way around, but that's okay. And I'm going to just do another little line here. I'm looking at the variation in the picture, and it's okay that the greens are different colors, but this leaf kind of has like an edge to it, which there's again no mention about detailing. So I will detail it according to what I see. Let's go. Let's try this. All right. Now we are going to do the stem. So I'll just take another little well here. The stem is comprised of Windsor green and Windsor red, and the Windsor green is more of 70% and Windsor red is 30%. So a little bit more of one than the other. And if I go back to my palette, which is kind of upside down, but that's okay. My Windsor red and green are next to each other, and I need more green than red. So we'll start with the green. And I don't think I need a ton of paint here because it's just a little thin stem. So we will just dab our brush in here. And like, there's no scientific way to measure these colors to know how accurate it is. So I'm just gonna get a nice darkish stem color here. And I quite like this color. Now, again, I'm actually thankful that I picked this long round because it's got a nice thin point, which is perfect for doing stems. And I am not good at steady lines, so I'm gonna try doing the first stem all the way up to the top and then do my little branches, because otherwise, if I try to do it stem like line by line, it's gonna look really choppy. Cross my fingers, wish me luck. And my brush is not wet enough. Okay, let's do that again. And I lost my ink, my paint. Oh, keeping a steady hand is really challenging. And then having had to reload my paint because I didn't really have enough paint on my brush, and now I made a really ugly thick line here, but that's okay. That is tricky. You know, it shows how much practice you need to get the amount of paint and like the technique of getting your stems in. It's challenging. It is definitely challenging. And I already ran out of paint, you see? I'm gonna do that one again. Here I thought I had too much and I didn't have enough. So we just mixed up another batch, which I probably don't need now, but anyway. And we are going to continue with our stems, which my lines are coming out quite thick, which I'm not keen about, but hey, it is what it is. That is definitely not pretty. Do I try picking it up and redoing it? Do I make a mess? I might pick up my green if I do that one. Okay, you know what? I still have a bit of green. I can just make another mess here. Let that dry. Correct it a little bit. Let that dry. But now you see what I'm doing? I'm mecking up the color here because I just layered on top of dry paint. Oh well, you live and you learn. This is why I find watercolor really difficult. It's not like acrylic painting. Like, you can make a lot of mistakes and just paint right over it. But with watercolor, it is tricky, but it's practice, like everything. My colors are not the same. I think I have more red maybe in this one. It's okay, it gives a little variation. And this one here, I didn't go into the flower. Oh, that's the one I just corrected. I forgot. Oh, geez. Oops. Okay, I forgot to do my glaze. I was supposed to do a blue glaze on some of these flowers and I did not do it. Okay, we're going to autocorrect ourselves again. I'm gonna dab in this one like that. I'm gonna dry again this. And as I was drawing, I was rereading the instructions. So I forgot to put my glaze on my green, and it did say to switch the brush from the 8 round to a 2 round, which I actually had right next to me here. Well, this is a 4 round, but it would have been a lot thinner than the one that I'm using. So I did not follow instructions. That is my fault. Let's see, I'm going to just redo a little bit of a green here. I'm gonna freehand a leaf next to this. I'm gonna freehand a leaf. I'm gonna just put an extra leaf here and maybe another one up here. Let those dry. And I'm gonna use my thinner brush to draw little stems. Now for the glaze, paint an ultramarine blue glaze over 4 of the leaves. My ultramarine is this one right here. Let's just see what happens if I glaze this over. That's pretty. Doesn't really look blue, as I would have been afraid. Let's do it on this one here, just to even it out a little. It did say to do 4, but I'm gonna glaze over this one. It's pretty. There we go. Interesting. I'm going to attempt again with this mixture here. What was this one? It's a bit red. Wings are red and blue. What's this one? Whoops, that's the wrong. There we go. That's the right mixture. So I have a 4, and I'm gonna just redo those stems. Is this dry? They're not quite dry, so before I hit it with more water, I'm gonna dry this. And now we'll try with the thinner brush to just do a soft, gentle line over here. I'll just make it like a little branch. Like that. Bring that one in. Still feels kind of thick. I feel like I would need something really a lot thinner. Much, much thinner. And just to make it look like things are connected here, because there's so much variation. There we go. All right, I think this one is done. I don't want to play with it more because I will muck it up more if I keep touching it. So there you have it, number 2. And I will give you another close-up here. So here is the book, and here is my version. And as you can see, the stem is way too thick. And the color in the book definitely doesn't match what's in my paint, but it's okay. We're gonna work on this one next. What is this one? Which flower was that? This is the daisy. So we will be doing a daisy right here. And it still needs the 8 round brush. It's supposed to be easy. I'm gonna need to clean out some of my wells because I will need to mix some new colors in there. I think I'm gonna change my water as well because it looks pretty mucky. Okay, I'll be right back. I'm gonna just change this and clean my palette. And everything's in frame to see. All right, step 1, with a pencil, trace your daisy onto your paper. Done. Now, and lightly erase the pencil marks. So now it says, load your size 8 round brush with Quin Gold. Use more water than paint to lighten the value, and paint the center of the flower, which is the pollen area. While it is wet, drop in cadmium orange to the bottom right hand side of the pollen, wet in wet, which will help darken it. So Quin Gold is here. So it says to load it. Now that's such a small little center. I probably have too much paint here. Let's just do this. And then it kind of washes a little bit off there. I feel like there's a lot of paint, a lot of water here. So let's see if I can soak some of that up. Dry my brush, okay. Now it's wet in wet, and it said to drop some cadmium orange, which I have here, and it looks a little bit contaminated, but should be okay. Okay, I have dropped in my cad orange, and it is not doing the effect that I see on the book. I feel like the paper's a little bit off. I don't know. But now that's a really orange center. But they do have orange centers, right? I mean, here, let's try this. Okay, looks like a splotch of orange there, but I think the center is a little bit lighter. I'm just gonna see if I could lift a little bit off of it. Okay. And I have like some red or something here, so I'm gonna just add that. There we go. Okay, I think that's pretty. Then wait for this to dry. I did not, and my pollen bled into, oh, so this wasn't supposed to happen. I bled this out, but she's saying this wasn't supposed to happen, but it worked out anyway. So, yeah. A good tip is to read instructions ahead of time and not do it while you're trying to do it, because then you learn things along the way. It's okay. Now create your lighter value of quinacridone gold by adding even more. Paint this paint to forward facing petals. You don't need to completely paint the petals. I'm a little confused. Oh, the petals down below? My green. Oh, okay, so I'm using the Quin Gold by adding even more water so it's barely visible, and apply to the forward facing petals. So that's these petals that are forward facing. So this one. Okay, so it said to like just, and I got a splotch of paint here. A little drip of paint has now turned my stem green. So there goes that idea. I dropped paint at some point onto this side of the paper while I was coloring, because I'm kind of working on top of the book just so that you guys can see, but that's okay. A little surprise there. And now I'm just painting all the petals, because it does look like all the petals are painted in the book too. It's not necessarily showing one or two painted, so it's okay. We like color. Go. Just trying to wash out that green that's there, and it's okay. It's going to give a little variation. Okay, let's let that dry. Mix ultramarine blue with neutral tint and add the shadow on the flower petals. Use light values, add plenty of water in your mixture, apply large amounts to the right hand petals, paint them. So daisies have white petals, and so you're using the ultramarine blue and the neutral tints to give it like a blue hint, but not necessarily painting them blue, so it should be watered down. Let's see if I can do that. So that would be these two here. So let's get ultramarine on here. You probably cannot see off camera what I'm doing, so I'll just move it here. I'm just putting my mixture of ultramarine and some neutral tint. And that looks a bit more neutral tint than ultramarine. That's okay. Now it said really watered down, so that you're just giving it a hint. So I'm just gonna put this on the side here. Trying to hint that there are petals here. So I'm trying to leave white space. Because otherwise I'll just look like I'm having blue petals. Try to make a little darker at the tip. Kind of outlining the petals, but leaving some blue. And I am looking at the picture in the book, so I am trying to kind of like get that sense of what's going on here. Let's put a little darker here. There we have it. Use a little bit of that darker mixture just to give a little variation, like in the book. It's a little too wet, so it's kind of just sucking it up. All right, and then the stem is cadmium orange and Windsor green. You don't need too much of it, but and I already had my little oopsies here, so this part was already somewhat green. We'll just fill in the leaves. And it's kind of like glazing over that gold that was there already. It's pretty. Try and get a little variation. I think that's the tricky part, is If you keep it all one flat color, then you don't have any variation. Oh, now I put too much of this green. Let's go back to the orange. There we go. Now it looks like a fake green. It's okay. Make it a little darker. There we go. All right, and should I attempt touching the petal one more time with a thinner? Maybe if I put that little tad bit more neutral, and just to give it a little life. Just to help define that there are petals there. I don't know, maybe it's looking a little abstract, but weird. I feel like in my painting style, I would come in with like a Posca white or acrylic something and just paint over the leaves a little bit more. All right, we're done with the daisy. 2 more flowers to go. I hope you're hanging in there with me. Thank you so much for tuning in and, you know, supporting my channel and my art journey. Creating YouTube videos and doing art at the same time, it's very challenging. So it's really nice to have that support and share with you what I'm learning so that you perhaps learn something from this as well. I am looking for the next flower, and I believe that is a poppy, and I love poppies. I am looking for the poppy. Oh, there we go. So the next one is the California poppy, and similar to the others, we are going to draw it here. So this one, let's see if I have enough painting wells here. I'm gonna be doing wet on wet, clear white wash. I'm gonna just change my water one more time. Let's wet our petals. And there's like a center spike that I'm supposed to leave. So I think I will really just go around those for now. Wet my paper, nice and wet because it does dry. This part's fun, just wetting the paper. And try and leave that center dry. Just go over it one more second because it does dry up. Okay, so we are going to start with the cad orange, which is this here. Load up my brush and start in the center. Ooh, this is a very bright. Doesn't look that bright on the book, and it's just really spiking there. So to only go about halfway and then go into it with the yellows. So like that. Let's switch over to the lemon yellow, which I have here. And it said to start in the middle and then let it go up to the top. And just kind of finish those edges. I'm loving the color though. It's bright, like almost like neon. It's pretty. And then just finishing up those edges. Go all the way around. That is lovely. Just gonna do a little bit more here because there's kind of a petal overlapping another one. So it's okay if it's a little darker. And then the middle part though, doesn't quite say how to get that middle. I think I'm gonna let this dry, or wait, go in just a little bit with the center spikes. That. Okay, I'm gonna dry this. And something I tend to do with the heat gun while I'm drying is kind of move the paint around a little bit so that it's not, like I try to intentionally move it in the directions I want. But yeah, now I see some of like clear definitions of stuff here. Oh, I think I'm gonna glaze with alizarin crimson and cadmium orange. I'm gonna just do that. Do I have cadmium orange on here? Yes, I do. I just put it on there. Alizarin crimson, I meant. Let's get a little bit of a darker, redder color here. We are going to glaze I feel like I didn't really read the instructions clearly here and I'm winging it a little bit. It's okay. I'm going by what I see, which is a good thing because you can look at something and then try to figure out how to recreate that whether you have instructions or not. And now I've just kind of made it one big blob here. I lose my definitions and I find that a little bit of a struggle, and the book is not clear on how to do that. And like that's where I would need to see an actual person doing it, like a tutorial. I'm gonna leave that little center spike, but I am gonna just kind of fill in a little bit here. I'm gonna dry this again. So here's where I went wrong. I should have put the first layer of color, leaving a little white center, and then use the second layer of color to make those like little center pollen pieces, and then continued with my center. But that's okay. First time trial, and I can always do this exercise again. So it's practice. And I'm going to just play it again with another layer of color here. This is definitely going to be an abstract poppy. But that's okay. Let's dry that. And I feel like I have quite a bit of greens here, so I'm just going to use one of these and just kind of like draw a little spike here. Maybe even take one from here. Just do a little spike. And there's a bit of a dark corner, so I am just going to drop in a little bit of neutral tint down here. Just kind of like do something like that. Should be a little lighter, so I'm kind of picking up the paint off of it just to lighten it up. There we go. Yeah, it's not that easy to get that that like little variation of colors, and I feel like I want to keep picking at it to give me a bit more petal definition. I love poppies and I want it to look like a poppy I love. Oh well. I guess it's gonna be one to redo in the books. I find flowers are challenging though. Like, I don't find them to be that easy to begin with. So if you can master a nice flower, then you got something good going on. All right. Now for the stem, green, gold, Windsor green. That's gonna be good enough to just do the stem with my thinner brush and just bring it down. Darken that up a little bit. I'm kind of just playing with my colors now. I'm not even going with the recommended colors. I'm just getting a pretty green and then just kind of bringing it down like that. All right, we are going to hit our last flower, and then I am going to take a nice deserved break, have a nice cup of tea and breathe, and then tackle my next project. All right, I had to take a moment to charge up the battery on my camera because it was dying when I finished the last flower. So I took a moment to clean my palette, get fresh water, and we are now going to work on this daffodil. Lemon yellow, quin gold, cadmium orange, and then the Windsor green and neutral tint for the stem. So we will use lemon yellow first. I'll get my lemon yellow nice and wet. Get a nice juicy brush. All right, let's do it. Dropping my lemon yellow pretty much everywhere. This is quite thick on here, so we're just gonna spread that paint around, almost like fluorescent on my paper. It's so bright. So this is nice and yellow. I do want to cover the whole flower, so we will do that. Get just a little bit more lemon. Now it said while it's still wet, I will be going for the quin gold next. So let's do the center flower. That's tough because it's all wet, so it's kind of spreading everywhere. All right, let's not panic. And then the left 3 petals, which is this. And I just feel like adding a little bit more here. And picking this part up a little bit. Okay, and then I can lift some of the color from the rim if it's too dark. Okay, I still feel like it needs a little bit more definition. I will dry this again, of course, but I don't want to lose my bright daffodil yellow petals. It is tricky, but it is possible. Well, now I kind of got quin everywhere, so let's just kind of move that over a little bit. See how I'm just kind of moving my paint around, like putting it in the direction I want it to go. Just go back in with some yellow here because I really want to have that pop of daffodil show up. Okay, we are going to dry this and then continue seeing how it's coming out. Let's dry. It says I can lift some of the paint, so let's see. Lifting usually means with your brush wet, you can go over the top of the existing paint and kind of pull it up. It's supposed to like suck up some of that color into the brush and lighten what's underneath. But as you can see, it's not like a one-time attempt. I'm kind of working it to get that picked up. So I'm only doing the edges here, and I want to kind of pick up that middle piece as well. Highlights. Just kind of rubbing my wet brush over it. And then I'm going to go back in with some of my lemon yellow, just to give it a little more pop of yellow around the edge, like so. I want it to look like those nice bright yellow daffodils, so I'm playing a bit with it. Just let that dry, get a little more of a deeper edge here. A little too much though. I don't want to lose the body of the daffodil, but I wanted to give it a little more definition. It's not bad. I guess I'm just still fussing with it a little bit here, just to kind of get that definition. There we go. Let that kind of spread a bit. That's okay. Otherwise, I feel like I was losing the actual petals in there. There we go. That's okay. All right, now we're going to do the stem. The stem is our Quin Gold and Windsor Green. I'm going to put the Windsor Green into this one here, simply so I can reuse this paint. And that's pretty bright. Let's warm it up a little bit with some of the red. There we go. I like that better. All right, even though the stem on the picture is bright, I'm happy with this. This is fine. Needed eraser, kind of remove this one and just go down with my actual paintbrush. And then let's try it. So let's just follow this all the way down, like that. Got a little bit of a thicker stem at the top and a little thinner at the bottom. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow just to give it a little color variation, like that. There we go. I don't know, I'm going to fuss a little bit more with this. Once it's dry, I could always go in there with colored pencil and kind of highlight it a bit better, but I think for now I'm going to leave the stem as is and not fuss too much more with it. There we go. Oh, and I just dropped a splotch of water on here. All good, all good. All right, let's put this aside. So just to give you a close-up of the book daffodil and my daffodil, which is still drying. And now we will see the full results of all of them. So the Cosmo, the Eucalyptus, the Daisy, the California Poppy, which I kind of like it, but you know, like I want to fuss with it because I don't like the harsh line. Just taking a wet brush and blending it a little bit out a bit. I don't know if this is the correct watercolor practices, but heck, if it works and it does what I want it to do, why not? I'm just kind of smushing around the paint a bit. Quite like that. Definitely more to my liking now. That's really pretty, actually. There you have it, my 5 flower demonstration. I hope you enjoyed this journey with me of practicing watercolor flowers, following this awesome book called The Big Book of Watercolor, The Must-Have Guide to Painting by Mallory Jane. And yeah, there's maybe a couple of steps here and there that might be missing, but use your imagination. Be a little bit creative with the work that you're doing and make it work. I think if I redid it again, I would definitely thin down my stem on the eucalyptus and then like work a bit more on the details to try and get a more refined flower, but I think it came out really pretty.